to the first episode of my Atlanta Hawks franchise here on, or I guess MyNBA here on NBA 2K25. Been a while since I've really dug deep into an NBA franchise mode. Every year I kind of play it here or there, but I figured with the Hawks kind of in a transitional period, I feel like it's as good a time as ever to fully jump back in. So yeah, rolling with the Atlanta Hawks, who surprisingly won out on the draft lottery and were able to get the number one overall pick. Unfortunately for the Hawks fans, it was not like a Victor Wembanyama type of draft where you got like a super high end, pretty much an instantaneous, star with that number one overall pick. But I think the Hawks ended up getting a good player. So we'll take a look at the roster and work our way down. And obviously, the big franchise player here is Trae Young. I know he's got a lot of rumors and stuff, around him as far as potentially trading him. But at least for the purposes that I'm working with right now, I have zero plans on trading Trae Young. Like it would take a really bad first year, probably a really bad second year with 2 years left on his contract, and him just being, really, really upset with us for me to even really think about making that move. I just think that with his offensive, playmaking ability, I think that he just gives you that floor of essentially being a top 10 offense. Now he has defensive efficiencies, can be a little streaky with the shooting and stuff, but he's an excellent player, and I think especially for the style of 2K, like the way that I play the game, he's like an excellent point guard, like kind of centerpiece for me. Very fast, good with off the dribble, can shoot, excellent passer. Just kind of have to work around him defensively. But yeah, the second player here is Jalen Johnson. Really started coming into his own last year. 16 points per game, really good efficiency, really raised up his 3-point shooting. Free throw percentages are really strong too. Just really like kind of the player that he is and the player he's becoming. He's a solid enough defender. Pretty good athlete. He's about as good as he's probably going to get, but I think with his spot up shooting, his ability to finish inside, everything that he brings to the table, I definitely, consider him a building block, pretty much the second one on this team. Clint Capella, we got him for one more year. My plans are not to bring him back, but, we'll figure kind of things out as we go along, because I would really like to kind of turn the page into Onyeka Okongwu here. Always really liked Okongwu. I think he gives us, a little bit more than what Clint Capella does. Not quite the rebounder, probably not quite the defender that that Capella is. But Okongwu to me, gives me a little bit of being able to stretch the floor. Shot 33% from three. Really good efficiency on the inside. Like he's kind of a player that I also consider a building block. I think he'll be a, maybe not a superstar at center, but I'm very big on the pick and roll game. I'm not a superstar at all by any stretch of the imagination here. On NBA 2K, I've always been more of like a baseball, football player when it comes to video games. So not saying I'm going to make him a superstar or anything, but I think I can, really utilize Okongwu in ways to, to boost him and make him a really important player for us. Got Bogdanovic here, 2 years, really good spot up shooter, strong mid range, has some playmaking ability to him. Can definitely, run the floor if Trae Young's on the bench for whatever reason. Always really liked Bogdanovic, and I think that he's a player that can definitely be a spark plug for us, give us some scoring. Trying to decide whether or not to have him come off the bench, probably have him start to begin with, because I'm gonna have DeAndre Hunter probably come off the bench as our sixth man. be our top scoring option coming off of there as a good spot up shooter. I've always found his release a little funky when it comes to the video games that I've used him in the past. But yeah, so Hunter has not really grown that much as a player, but he's really like solidified himself, as a 15 points per game guy, gives you some rebounding, can assist, is fairly efficient, in shooting. He's just not a superstar. But I think he's a really good role player, and I think would be a really good bench piece for us going forward. Got him for 3 years, so certainly not in any rush to move him. And at 26, like you're pretty much probably close to his peak for what he would be from an overall perspective. But it's a good player. We got Larry Nance Jr. here. Got him in an off-season trade, sending DeJounte Murray. Lance gives us, Larry Nance, gives us some good depth, gives us experience, gives us an all-around good, offensive player. His, pretty much is what he is. Obviously, being at 31 is a pretty good post defender, decent enough on the perimeter, not going to kill you there. But of course, number 1 overall pick, Zachariah. I always mess up his name. So Zachary Risashare. Hold on one second. Let me look up how to say this again. It always messes me up for whatever reason.
Zachary Risashare.
Zachary Risashare. Number 1 overall pick. Is pretty much a good spot up shooter from 3-point now, but he is an excellent defender. I mean, he's already stepping in day one. He's one of our best perimeter defensive players here. Unfortunately, only a C+ potential. I saw the same thing with Alex Sarr. So not great from a number 1 overall pick, but I think that was kind of the consensus with this class. Was that, you were not going to get a mega superstar player with a number 1 overall pick, but I have kind of glanced around the roster, and some of the other players really have high potential. So a little surprising that he doesn't, but probably am going to at least start him. I think on the base, whenever you come into MyNBA, he is situated currently as the starter. So probably going to roll with that, and I know I've got him training with Bogdanovic here to improve his spot up shooting, try to work on some of those badges. Again, I'm not a super 2K guy, but I know those badges can be important. Dyson Daniels is another player that we got in a trade over the offseason. Really good perimeter defender, can finish around the basket, is not a great shooter. Yeah, I mean, it's a 31% for 3. It's not horrible, but, that's on really low, shots, just 22 minutes per game as well. Definitely going to be the off-the-bench point guard is how I plan on using him. Cody Zeller, depth center. Don't know how much he'll play with these guys that we've got listed ahead of him. You got David Roddy here, Garrison Matthews, and Kobe Buffkin. And let's just sort this by potential. So at least this is what the game is saying. Hey, these are the guys that you can really build around. Obviously, Trae Young is our highest. Keaton Wallace, a 25-year-old, 69 overall, even with the high potential, is not really a guy that I plan on using moving forward. Hunter still apparently has some room to grow. It's just a matter of whether or not we get him there. Capella is already maxed out. Jalen Johnson still has some room to grow, but I think we're pretty close to the cap on him. Then Okongwu should be able to get a little bit better, and then you get, some of these younger guys, really interested to see if Dyson Daniels maybe becomes a little bit better of a shooter, but his defensive playmaking gives him a really solid floor. So I'm not just, as I'm kind of glancing around the league, let's take a look and see kind of where we're at as far as the power rankings and stuff are concerned. So we come in at number 26 on the NBA.com, assuming it's going to be 26. And for 2K Sports, we're actually up to 17. I think this is going to be a team that sims better than what that really kind of shows. But I'm not in the interest of, I think this is a team in transition, but it's not a team I'm trying to fully rebuild, right? So we have some young guys that I really am trying to, get minutes, certainly building the entire offense around Trae Young, but want to get these other guys, and get them ready, see what kind of growth we can get from them. This is the base rotation that we have. Rolling with a 10-man, and so probably not going to use much of Zeller. Got Cressy down here kind of as the last guy, at least for right now. But yeah, you got Larry Nance, Dyson Daniels, Okongwu, and Hunter coming off the bench. And of course, with the starting five, you would kind of expect may end up using Bogdanovich. Off the bench, maybe sliding Hunter into the starting lineup. Not entirely sure as far as the future is concerned. And I think I would eventually like to use Okongwu as the starter at some point this year. But we'll kind of see, how that goes. But yeah, so I'm really expecting like what I'm probably going to try to do is play like 10 to 12 games in the regular season. If things are going really bad, kind of move forward. Obviously, I'm not going to play. If you've watched my, Georgia and Tulane college football 25 dynasties, I play all the games in that. But obviously, football, the schedule and everything is different than what you get with the NBA, being an 82-game regular season. So I'll probably play 8 to 12 games. If we're doing real bad, I might end up going like on the lesser side of that. If there's like important matchups down the stretch, maybe play a little bit more. We'll kind of guess and see. Obviously, for the next episode, we will start off with the Brooklyn Nets, and then we'll kind of just peruse around and maybe see what the next matchup is. Like, would really like to play the Knicks, but would rather go probably on the road for the second episode. So maybe Boston, something like that. But that's going to kind of be the idea behind it, playing a game or two a month. But a lot of simming, I think, with a guy like Trae Young. I really think we're going to end up simming well. And I think we can make a run at the playoffs. That's at least what I'm hoping to do. I'm not trying to sit here and be picking in the lottery and really struggling to build this team, because again, we're trying to win while Trae Young is in his prime. Let's see what we have as far as. So we do have the Lakers first. Got a top 10 protected here from the Kings. Got a swap best. So we got some first rounders to work with since we did trade DeJounte Murray back. These are probably going to be, really late first in 26 and 27. These are probably also going to be late. I'm not a super NBA fan, so some of this stuff kind of, confuses me. I know that as you get to the back half of the first round, you're very, very less likely to find superstar players. And I guess while we're talking about the draft, I did end up just going with the auto-generated. I know there's not really anybody out that's got a full, complete, good draft class, and I think I'd rather kind of go with the surprise. So we'll, doing the fake prospects. So we'll just kind of take a look, kind of do this position by position, maybe kind of seeing where the top end talent is. And you start off here at point guard. Jared Clement is looking like the top point guard, draft rank number 2, position rank 19, position rank number 2. Let's sort this by, I don't know which one of these ends up being like the most accurate, I guess. So we'll just sort it by, let's do 2K rank. So they have Clement as the number 8 prospect in the class. Got Thiago Silva here from Brazil as the number 2 guy on this list. He does not look like he is going to be like a super great player, at least right now, just a D+ overall. Maybe he's got, great potential. So yeah, definitely trying to figure some of this out. Again, I haven't played this a whole ton over the past couple of years. Really have not ever played with the like auto-generated classes. So we'll see. Kind of maybe not as interested in the point guard position. Could definitely see shooting guard as a spot we want to go to. It looks like there are a couple of like really highly rated guys here at the top. Abe Pickett from Ohio State. Got Jack Wright from Minnesota. Got Homer Person here from Evansville. Okay, small college. Wilson Cunningham from Boise State. Definitely got some, and Corey Cheeks here from Marquette. Kind of looks like maybe some of the first rounders will add in Jimmy Randall as somebody to maybe keep an eye on from Ball State. So obviously draft ranks and stuff are kind of all over the place. None of these guys are real, obviously. So interested in that. But a guy like Abe Pickett, obviously, I'm not expecting to be drafting this high, but kind of looks on the he's fairly highly rated, maybe the top overall prospect out of Ohio State, 18 years old. Definitely looks like he may be a really interesting player. And looks like a pretty consensus here on Jack Wright out of Minnesota as well. Small forward, obviously we just drafted a guy number 1 overall, but this is not like football where you kind of draft a guy and then that's it. A couple of guys here towards the back end of Raymond Wembanyama, coming playing out of Oregon. It's kind of all over the place with his draft projections right now. But maybe looking into that, and obviously we don't know anything about these guys right now. Don't have anything like at all figured out. Do have some strengths and weaknesses, at least kind of showing up right here. And some, I guess, initial grades, but obviously don't know how accurate those are at all. Moving over to power forward. Again, really like Jalen Johnson. Luther Towns definitely looks like the consensus number 1 guy here out of Alabama. He's ranked number 1 for everybody. So him and this Pickett guy here from Ohio State, right? Ohio State may be something interesting, but yeah, Luther Towns is definitely all across a 7-foot power forward that at least looks, let's see, his grades. Yeah, looks like he's going to be a real good 3-point shooter. Definitely a lot heavier than Kevin Durant, but kind of giving me those vibes. Doesn't have the playmaking. Not a great defender, though, but should be a solid rebounder with a lot of potential to be a scoring threat for sure. At least right now with listed good potential. Let's take a look at center. Definitely be very likely to look at this spot here towards the back half. Maybe a Nicholas Madsen out of Arizona State. You got Jim Carl out of Maryland. And Lonnie Jones out of St. Bonaventure. Definitely the highest rated center here for sure. Just at 6'9", though. That 6'9" that can't shoot, but got really good defense, really good rebounding. Like, looking at this, I'm not excited about him at all. That's the thing I'm kind of worried about when it comes to looking, doing these auto-generated classes. It's like, are there going to be like a lot of really good prospects, or more classes going to be just like this past one was in real life? So we'll see. But yes, I'm definitely thinking, I think we can compete, in Quinn Snyder's system. 4-star proficiency there. I really do think that we can I think we can compete. I think we can get into the play-in tournament at worst. Maybe, avoid that altogether. But I really do think that we can be really good. Maybe not really good, but I think we can make the playoffs, which is, I'm trying to keep Trae Young happy. I mean, I'm trying to get really all these guys, I guess, happier with us. Right now, it's pretty just basic across the board as far as everybody's relations with us. But I want to build this team around Trae Young, and I want him to be the long-term centerpiece for the Hawks. And I want to keep him in town, and we'll see, kind of if we're able to work that out. But yeah. That's going to be it for the first episode here. Again, just an introduction into what I want to do here, and just kind of laying it out. And the next time we see you guys, we'll start off the 2024 season with the Brooklyn Nets, and then we'll sim through a little bit, kind of figure out what game we'll play for episode 2. But yeah, until next time, if you enjoyed the content, like and subscribe. You want to join me on this journey on 2K as I begin to familiarize myself and get better at the game, while also trying to build the Hawks into a perennial contender. It's a team that hasn't won but one championship, and that's when they were the St. Louis Hawks back in 1958, I believe. Have never won a conference championship. Some of the most fun I've had in sports was watching the run the team went on a couple of years ago when they beat the 76ers and then lost to the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Was just a lot of fun. Basketball is not my favorite sport on the planet by any stretch of the imagination. That would be college football. But, definitely hoping that this gets me more into basketball. I would consider myself kind of like an above average casual fan. Like, I kind of keep up with what's going on, but I'm not watching on a night by night basis. definitely more of a football, baseball guy, but yeah, interested in getting into this. So if you enjoy the content, want to follow along, please like and subscribe, and check out the channel. Got a couple of college football dynasties working on there, and yeah. Until next time, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Peace.